Well, very good afternoon to you. It is 1 p.m., and this is KWMR, 90.5 Point Radio Station, 89.9 Bolinas, 92.3 in the San Geronimo Valley. Hope you stay tuned. Coming up next, Art's Desire, with your host, Julie Motz.
Hello and welcome to this special Fifth Tuesday edition of Art's Desire. When there's a fifth Tuesday in the month, I read people's original stories, essays, and poems. If you want to submit something to me for the next Fifth Tuesday, send it to jamtoday, JAMTODAY, at juliemotz, JULIEMOTZ.com. And now I'm going to read some poems by Ken Haas. The first is called Madam Butterfly. She was the kindest woman anyone knew. Though to me, the grandma who wanted to talk when the Yankees were on. How school was, if I had nice friends, her pastille breath, galore perfume, and mashed potato breasts, the organs of suffocation. Armchair bound by gout with a taut bob of pewter hair, ringed by jardiniere of lilies. She fed me apples with a tart skin pared off in splendid curls. Her grasp of the undeniable had saved a family, moved a stiff-necked man to quit their homeland, where he was sure reason would return. But as she would tell me when we had taken in yet again the scuffed rendering of her favorite Puccini, and I had remarked on the stupidity of the heroine's devotion to a jerk, the story is just housing for the music, which I've repeated since to dates in business suits, appalled by Butterfly's sacrifice, the blade of her voice calling to those who have lost the trail of love, that you can start again here, boxed in brilliance, hanging by a thread. And that was Madame Butterfly. And now Sanctuary. My grandfather thought he was a German, dashing in his Pickelhaube Iron Cross and bullet from Verdun. They told him, no, you are not one of us. And a clothier named Stern in North Dakota, who didn't know him, signed some papers, which sailed him elsewhere. So 20 years later, he could watch The Hunchback of Notre Dame with me on a black and white box in the Bronx. Quasimodo was an ugly wreck, I remember, the gap tooth, the pig nose, and seesaw eyes. The town folk teased and menaced him. My grandfather said, he is one of us. Esmeralda was Maureen O'Hara, who had curls, breasts, and a tambourine that could make a boy forget he was 6. Hounded as a gypsy, she was set to be hanged. My grandfather said, she is one of us. I asked, but how do I know? And he said the same way Stern knew, 2 half-continents and an ocean away, without a speck of ash on the hood of his car. At which precise moment the hunchback swung down on a rope to scoop up the gypsy, fly her away to the belfry and shout over and over a solitary word in a splendid voice that belied his brokenness. It is not often that you know exactly what a word means the first time you hear it, or that every time you hear it after, someone nothing like you is sailing for your shore. And that is Sanctuary. And now we have the poem War. When the archivist at Ellis Island met my father a few years before his death and asked what was the most memorable time of his life, he said it was the war, but he wouldn't embellish. And when he got sick, the family gathered, waiting for the aneurysm to burst, with hospice nurses in 8-hour shifts to catheterize him, give him shots of hydromorphone for the pain. I'm going to start that again. And when he got sick, the family gathered, waiting for the aneurysm to burst, with hospice nurses and 8-hour shifts to catheterize him, give him shots of hydromorphone for the pain. They were professionally attentive, sidetracked only once in a while by a magazine, a cell phone, the food mom couldn't stop cooking. Except for Nurse Carlos, back 2 years from a tour in Iraq, who never for a second took his eyes off Dad, soaked up his accounts at Okinawa, sat with him in the bathroom, watched him gaze out the window, eased the coffee cup from his hand when he dozed in his chair. Nurse Carlos, a rock from East Newark, buzz-cut, laconic, keep watch burned in black on his neck. Dad, his tired tales and the soul we doubted laced with the prayers of the battlefield dead. So it was surely, as the old CB had dreamed 1,000 times, after he went in for a nap, Carlos in tow, the rest of us joking, reminiscing, making plans in the living room, the soldier was the last one to see him alive. And those were poems by Ken Haas. I have a little extra time, and I want to read a few more poems. If you will just bear with me, I just have to enlarge the print so I can actually be able to read them to you. There are a few more poems by Richard Haas that I would like to read, so I'm just going to make them visible to me. Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. This is called The Catch. Night came at Candlestick toward the end of its days. June Rockwell, season ticket holder of the So-So Giants, has lured me out to see the wretched Cubs. First date, when I pick her up, she asks if I brought my glove, and I tell her I'm from the Bronx, where we do everything with our bare hands. Thin crowd, uneventful innings, until 2 out in the 7th, when Chicago's lumbering, chaw-spitting right fielder nicks a rising heater that sails backward several sections from our box seats into a circular gale like the Twister in The Wizard of Oz. The ball at its apex, still no real concern 20 rows away. And yet, in its final moments, the object of common regard begins to beam intently, inevitably, from my patron's unarmed lap. I, Bud Light in one hand, fully adorned bratwurst in the other. No kidding. I refuse to panic. So the hot dog becomes at last the missing glove, explodes like a grenade as the seamed orb makes exceptional contact. When, after a decent interval, I look up, June standing now, a Jackson Pollock of ballpark cuisine, tinsels of pork rind and sauerkraut in her startled hair, glitter of mustard and relish from brow to chin, says not a word, does not go to wash up, just lowers her quivering body. The wind dies. The home team fails. We do not speak on the drive back. Ah, what might have been, but not for me. I'm romantic in that other way. This way, for this night, no, if only, will ever rival what happened. Watch as we reach June's flat. She turns, caked still with the spectacle I have made of gallantry, and kisses me, softly, briefly, decisively. Watch the fog rise to claim her for the perfect past. And another poem by Ken Haas. On being slapped by a woman I don't know. Intermission at the opera, Saturday night. All I know about her is the page boy cut of raven red hair. She stands abruptly, then uses the full arc of her body turn to imprint the left side of my face. One contact lens now lodged up under its eyelid, a bicuspid stuck to the inside of my mouth, my cheek like a puck tent smacked by lightning. I had never been slapped by a woman before, though there was something about it I missed. Bacall giving it to Bogey, Crawford to Gable, deserved, delivered. On to the next scene. Black and white. Mine seemed technicolor. Turns out she had been twirling one tip of her reading glasses between her front teeth, while the other tip was tickling her ear, which she thought was me from the row behind, flirting or trying to filch one of her diamond studs. Probably some other guy had earned it, or I had earned it elsewhere, edging my hand under Faye Brown's iron bra, her dad glued to Gunsnuck downstairs, teasing my ex-wife for airballing a foul shot in front of 20,000 fans during halftime at the Oakland Coliseum on taco night, asking my mom, just before heading off to college, why she let her kids be strapped and what she got out of watching. I was a good boy once. May have been an okay man, though the heart never believes this. Needs a sharp reset, a briskly wiped slate. That's what I missed, the clarity. And the wake-up doesn't hurt much, requires no response. Just blink a few times, wiggle the jaw. Welcome, rough justice. The curtain is rising. And those were two more poems by Ken Haas. You have been listening to the special Stories, Poems, and Essays version of Art's Desire, the Fifth Tuesday version. Again, I'm your host, Julie Motz. I invite you to submit your writing to me for future readings. You can email it to jamtoday@juliemotz.com. That's JAMTODAY @juliemotz, JULIEMOTZ.com.